What I'm going to show you today is 5 or 6 things that I've put onto this Land Cruiser that really don't have enough content about them to make their own dedicated video. They're things that I've done to this. I'll tell you what they cost. I'll tell you if I'm happy with them. Setting up your 4-wheel drive is basically the most expensive accessory sport you could possibly ever take part in. You need to work out what is appropriate for you and your circumstances and what's not. Some mods that you can do to your car is just incredible. Other mods you think, well, that was just a waste of bloody money. Now, we've got to keep in mind this is a 76 series. These things are very industrial, very agricultural, very mining, whatever you want to call it. These things are not built for comfort, they're built for reliability. This is a TJM Airtec. Airtec, is that what they're called? Airtec snorkel. I went with this over the Safari snorkels mainly for one reason on this vehicle, and that reason is that I don't need to cut any holes in this quarter panel to install it. It's literally a plug and play sort of situation. You take the old one off, you feed the new one in, that's it. Rob it your mother's brother, you've got a good solid one-piece snorkel that's waterproof. And this is where the first bit comes into play, where I'm talking about do what you need to do for your situation. I'm not about to go through any water crossings that are up above this sort of height. It's just not going to happen. Where I live is quite remote. There's no hills, there's very few creeks. So the chances of me using this to wade through water on a regular basis is pretty slim. I do get to the high country often enough, but not often enough that I do this just for that reason. The main reason I did this is that the stock air filter is so bloody noisy, it's ridiculous. This cost about $500 from TJM. Install took me about half an hour. It was harder to take the old one off than what it was to put this one on. And do I regret it? Not for a second. Even when I installed this, a little bit of me went, my car's faster. That was just bullshit. It really wasn't faster. It just felt like it was a bit more responsive. And that was just a feeling. There's no hard number facts that are going to sit here and show you that this was made a performance difference. But I think it did. The second thing I'll talk about is this here. This is a secondary fuel filter, and I had this installed when I got the car serviced by the mechanic in town. Where we live is pretty remote, and the fuel that we have here can be a bit questionable. In fact, when the service was done on this and it wasn't overdue, at least not by more than a couple hundred kilometers, the fuel filter that was in here when I was only running the one, it was bloody terrible. So I asked them to put a second one on there, and it doesn't see any performance differences, nothing like that. Am I happy that I did it? Absolutely. It's more for a peace of mind. It costs about 480 bucks. I'll put a link to the actual one that I've got here down in the description. Number 3 is the airbags I have at the rear suspension. The suspension on this vehicle is 100% stock standard. The only thing that we've done to it is put the airbags on it. So everything else is stock. The reason we put the airbags under it is that we tow a horse float, and the horse float is a little heavy. It's not too heavy for the vehicle, it's all within spec, but when you put the big heavy horse float on there, it tends to sag the back end of the suspension. So we put the airbags in there to keep everything nice and level, nice and flat, so it just handles better when you drive. Next up would be the towing mirrors. The mirrors that come standard on this vehicle are bloody terrible. They're like this big, they're teeny tiny, and most of the time you can't even see what's behind your vehicle. So if you're towing something, there's no chance at all. You've seen these around before. They're much bigger. They look a little bit too big almost for the vehicle. These ones are the OCAM ones. They're all basically the same. That is, they all extend, they all come back in. There's 2 parts to each side of the mirror, the regular mirror, then the blind spot mirror down the bottom. These things for towing, dead set ripper. I think those were about 500 bucks. These are the OCAM ones. The ones that we opted for are not the electronic ones, so you've still got to adjust them manually. However, this vehicle didn't come with electronic ones, so I'm not missing anything anyway. I think these are about 500 bucks. Even if you don't tow and you've got an older vehicle like this is a 2012 model, the mirrors on these are originally pretty bad. This is nothing short of a game changer as far as seeing what's behind you goes. They're really impressive mirrors. Next, I would say it's this. This is a cruiser console, cruiser custom cruisers. What are they called? Cruiser consoles is what they're called. And this one here was about 700 bucks, I think it was. Maybe it was $1,000. There's all different sorts of these. The main thing that I like about this is this armrest and the cup holders, because this truck doesn't comes with one cup holder, and you can sit there fighting with your missus as to who's going to use the cup holder. But the armrest, it just changes everything about driving this vehicle. It's just more comfortable. People talk about the seats in these being uncomfortable. I find them very comfortable. But the armrest that was on this, if you know 70 series, you know what I'm talking about. They're pieces of crap. This thing, dead set easy to install. It's got some USB charging down here. It looks like it's factory. It's just good. It's really, really good. One of the most common upgrades on a 70 series is the exhaust, because it's easy to do and it delivers you some power straight off the bat. This vehicle here is, I've said it before, it's an agricultural sort of a vehicle, and they're detuned to buggery. They're tuned to just last a long time. The exhaust that I have in here is a custom-made job from an engineering company here in my next hometown, in the next town across from my hometown, and it's a certified engineered exhaust, and it works really well. It's not overly loud. So my point is, it sounds like a V8, but it doesn't sound like an obnoxious V8. You're not going to hear it coming from miles away. It's not going to make you deaf as you're driving it down the road, but the power that it delivers is comparable to what you would expect a V8 to be. It cost about $1,400, and it was all installed for that price as well. And honestly, I'm more than happy to pay that when it's engineered, certified, and it just works well. All right, guys, that's a few of the smaller things that I've done to this vehicle to make it that much better. If you think there's something I should be doing to this that I haven't done yet, put a comment down below. Anyway, guys, that's it for this week. Catch you later.